You know, sometimes all it takes is one single meeting and one social media post to send a company's stock completely through the roof. And that is exactly what just happened with a semiconductor giant, Intel. But believe me, the story behind this sudden surge is packed with way more twists and turns than you might expect.
So picture this. Last Friday, Wall Street is just buzzing, right? Intel's stock, bam, shoots up 7%. Now, for a company as big as Intel, a 7% jump in one day, that is huge. It gets everyone's attention. And of course, everyone's asking the same simple question. Why? Well, here's your answer. The whole thing kicked off right after Intel's CEO had a meeting with President Trump. And right after that meeting, Trump goes on Truth Social and posts this, a full-throated, glowing endorsement. I mean, a public shout-out like that from the White House? That's basically rocket fuel for a stock price.
So you see this and you think, okay, a powerful CEO, a supportive president. It looks like the perfect alliance. But what if I told you this whole cozy picture is like brand new? That just a few short months ago, this relationship was, let's just say it was the complete opposite of friendly.
I mean, look at this. The contrast is just wild. On one hand, you've got the president's current praise, but just a few months before that, he was publicly demanding the CEO's immediate resignation. So the big question is, what on earth could possibly cause such a dramatic U-turn? Okay, so to figure out how we got here, we've got to go back a bit. We need to understand why things got so bad in the first place. So let's dig into the source of all this conflict.
So the president's initial demand, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It actually started with concerns raised by Senator Tom Cotton, who pointed to CEO Lip-Bu Tan's connections with several Chinese companies. The big fear was that these ties could be a national security risk, especially when you're talking about a company as critical to U.S. infrastructure as Intel is.
Now, you can bet Intel and its CEO were not just going to sit there and take that. They mounted a really strong defense. The company put out a statement reaffirming its commitment to U.S. security, and Tan himself wrote a letter to all his employees, pointing to his 4-decade-long career and saying he has always operated with the absolute highest ethical standards. So you've got this huge public fight, right? And it's all tangled up in these very serious national security concerns. How in the world do you come back from that? Well, the answer, believe it or not, comes down to a number. A really, really big one. Yep. $8.9 billion. In August, the White House didn't just quietly drop its concerns. Oh no, it went all in, negotiating this absolutely staggering investment directly into Intel.
And get this wasn't some kind of grant or a loan. Nope. The U.S. government literally became a massive shareholder, buying up over 433 million shares of the company. Just like that, the government was officially in the Intel business.
So, what happened to that big investment? Well, to put it simply, it exploded. That initial $8.9 billion stake has since soared in value and is now worth approximately $19 billion.
I mean, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? Look at that jump. The value of the government's stake has more than doubled. We're talking about a massive financial win for the U.S. taxpayer, plain and simple.
And suddenly, that friendly meeting at the White House makes a whole lot more sense, right? It wasn't just some polite photo op. It was basically a victory lap, a celebration of an unbelievably profitable partnership.
But you know, this story is about more than just a massive payday. This was what you'd call a strategic investment. See, the goal wasn't just about the financial return. It was about making sure that the critical technology of semiconductors, you know, the tiny brains inside literally everything we use, is manufactured right here in the United States. It was all about securing a vital piece of our national supply chain. So, let's just step back for a second. A relationship that kicked off with public condemnation and national security alarms has completely transformed into one of the most powerful and profitable public-private partnerships we've seen in a long, long time.
Okay, let's just run through this whirlwind timeline one more time. March 2025, Tan takes over as struggling Intel. By July, the president is demanding he resign. But then, August, boom, everything flips with a massive government investment. And that brings us right up to January 2026, with a presidential endorsement and a partnership with $19 billion and counting.
And today, this unlikely alliance has a very clear shared mission, and it's summed up perfectly in that post from Trump. It's all about promoting Intel's latest chips, products that are, and I'm quoting here, designed, built, and packaged right here in the USA. They went from adversaries to allies, all united by a common American-made goal.
So all of this leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to chew on. Looking back at the whole thing, was the government's investment a massive political gamble that just happened to pay off big time? Or was it a calculated, strategically essential move to protect American interests, where the incredible financial return was just a very welcome bonus? It's definitely something to think about.